Hello, everyone, and welcome to the EOS Fireside Chat for October 11th, 2023. I'm Andrew, and I'll be your host today, stepping in for Stefan, whose birthday it is today. So happy birthday, Stefan. We got a packed show lined up, including 11 topics, and hopefully we'll hear from some guest speakers who will give us a little more context on some of these topics. Today we'll be talking about Hypha Launch Day. We've got EOS EVM on DappRadar. We've got ENF community engagement updates, as well as Alcor Farms, which are coming to EOS. We've also got a Chintai launch event, second of the launches we're discussing today. Got the Messari report, the state of EOS in Q3. We got the September BP meeting. We've got Upscale/Eden. And EOS Respect elections recaps. And then we've also got our Pomelo rapid fire pitch sessions later, so I'm sure we got some people looking forward to that. And then a couple updates on Neutroswap and a little overview of our EOS Monthly Report. So a little bit of housekeeping first. Thanks everyone for joining us. We're live on Discord, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. So make sure to like and subscribe wherever you are. We love it when you participate in the show, whether it's in the text chat or joining us on the voice stage on Discord. We want to hear your thoughts, comments, and questions about today's topics. And remember to share memes and emoji reactions for more fireside hype. And just going to remind everyone real quick about our POP token giveaways. Go down to the PopBot chat and just register your account /register. Type in your EOS account, and you can claim your POP tokens. And it's October, so you can also take this opportunity to mint your monthly raffle ticket for October. Oopsies, I meant to do that one. That seems like a more appropriate sound effect. All right, so getting started. Today is Hypha Launch Day. So earlier today, there was a town hall with Hypha, which was shared with me recently. I'm very excited to watch. I have not gotten a chance yet. I wanted to make it to the onboarding, but had other things at the time. But you can check out the recording of the town hall right here. Just posted in the chat. And I have to say, I'm very excited about this. I'll just run through the features real quick, and then I think we've got Joaquin in here to give us a little bit of additional context. So I was looking through all the features. There's lots of them. Features include profiles for each member of your DAO. You got badges to tag key skills or to give administrator and treasurer powers. You can have quests that reward ad hoc contributions or assignments that are for specific people. Also got circles, which are kind of non-exclusive teams that can be assigned budgets. And then, in addition, sub-circles within those circles. And then they've also got roles, which are for more long-term contributions. Got reward tiers, so members can pick the level of responsibility they want to take on. You can make policies for your DAO, and it's got versioning. It's kept up to date, and these policies are proposed by DAO members. In addition, you've got multiple tokens available for your DAO, so your DAO can have utility tokens, it can have voting tokens, and those are called voice tokens, and also payout tokens, which you can use to pay out DAO members in all three tokens. They've also got a custom wallet, an Explorer app. They've got multi-sig transactions. They got a voting system where you can select a custom threshold, a custom quorum, and a custom duration. They've also got customizable visual branding for DAO's pages, as well as a few things that are currently sort of in the process. They're in development right now, including the financial dashboard, templates, polls, elections, and other tools to reach the broader world of DAOs. An interesting note is that the utility tokens, voting tokens, and payout tokens all provide utility within the DAO and do not come with any profit sharing, which is actually a really beneficial setup for compliance. So with that, maybe if Joaquim is here, I'd love to pass it over to him, maybe ask a few questions. Joaquim, are you in the house?
I am in the house. Thank you. Thank you so much, Andrew. I didn't know we have so many features in the DAO.
Right, I actually condensed that down a little bit. It's very impressive looking at the list, and
Thank you for
they're all
that,
very
yeah.
cool. And congratulations, by the way. I know this has been a long time coming, so I know
Yes.
I'm excited, and it's not my project, so I'm sure you guys are very excited.
Yes, we are. I mean, this was like 4.5, almost 5 years in the making now. People ask us, we've seen you, what is this launch about? We actually did it as an alpha for such a long time. We had invited a few test participants. Today, October 11, was the big day, right? Finally, we are now officially launched and we're out there. Thank you, Brandon and Lenny, by the way, joining the town hall today. I think we got a good overview, and please watch the video. You'll see what we've introduced there. Yeah, so we're out there. We've worked, late hours last night to get everything up and running. The website is up too. You can see there's a link here posted. And you can find a lot more information about how to use the DAO, the bigger picture of the DAO. We posted some tutorials there, so you can get more familiar with what it is. For me, this is really an invitation to a bigger, longer journey, for us together. That was kind of the idea of the town hall, where we bring the first people together who are launching the DAO. And I'm so grateful we completed the EOS launch too. And we can now, go out there. The idea is really to come together and solve these hard problems, right? So it's a new playground that we're opening up. It's DAO, connecting to other DAOs, connecting to other ecosystems, building these ecosystems, and then starting these value and knowledge exchanges, right? Starting new ways of coming to agreements, right? Starting new ways of making decisions, starting new ways of rewarding people. It's really, for me, it's a shift now happening, a shift that happens maybe every 100 years, when you see something so traditional ingrained, in the way we see work, we see organizations today, shifting to something that's entirely new. And I think we've brought the DAO into this new space, right? Into what I call the third generation DAO that helps us all to figure out what is possible in a decentralized world, right? As we're shifting now back, I see really the strong shift, way back when, Tim Berners-Lee introduced the World Wide Web as a decentralized space, really, right? For us to come together, build our first HTML pages, and we own that stuff, right? Then came the commercial web 20 years later, and the big players moved in, and the big centralization happened, and the big data extraction is happening. And now again, there's 20, interestingly, 20 years later again, it's another big paradigm shift now back to decentralization. And with, Web3 and the blockchain and all the new technologies coming, I think we're ideally positioned now, for each and all of us really to move into this new space and see what's possible. So thank you for the introduction, Andrew. There's again features that we're releasing today. You can sign up. There's a free plan we have today. First people who are signing up will give as much hands holding as possible with the people we have, and then get them on their way, right? And then from here, it's really the beginning of the journey, right? You mentioned sort of the preview of the roadmap we have. That's also, you can see that at the end of the presentation there. For us, important is the community layer. For us, it's important sort of the, I'll call it holonic navigation, sort of an ecosystem layer where you see all the different players coming together and working together on solving these problems. And then of course, diving deeper into infrastructure support to scale the solution up to hundreds and then thousands of DAOs, hopefully later coming up this year, and then next year, then doing a lot more with new ways of making decisions, new governance models, and also including the milestone 4 that we are finalizing right now, which is the upvote election process. So that's coming to the EOS DAO as well. And then we can use that together with the community space feature to run elections inside the DAO. That's a whole new playground, I think. And it opened up new possibilities to do it in a single DAO, but also applying it to other ecosystems, other spaces where this is booting up. So I'm a happy camper today. The hard part is over. Now the fun begins, and let's see where we all take this.
That's very cool. I know I'm excited. So I've signed up. I've downloaded the app. I would like to create a DAO with my friends. So what do they need to do or learn in order to join? And how would I do that?
Yeah, that's great. So we see the DAO really as a evolutionary process. Come together, look around, watch some videos, and then see how you want to sort of build, the first elements, the first things into the DAO. And these are questions you can ask yourself about how do we make decisions, right? Now we're here, we're in this new exciting DAO space. How do we want to decide how things are happening? With the core team that you're building there, with the current iteration, you can decide on your voting system. There's a lot of flexibility built in. I'll give you one example. Hypha has a unity and quorum system that we're using of 80-20, meaning 80% unity and 20% quorum, 20% people of needing to show up for decisions. You can immediately go in there and put your first, say, proposal up there, right? Maybe if it's a new kind of organization, maybe it's an agreement that you put up there. Maybe it's a bylaw you created. Maybe it's another important document that you want to share. Put it out there. You can invite some other people and then begin to vote. Everybody has a single token, a single voice token, as you pointed out, Andrew. So you can use that voice token to begin sort of the voting process. And if it passes, depending on your settings inside the DAO, then you have the first, source of truth. We see the DAO really as a single source of truth where you put the important documentation, the important proposals, right? The important quests, contributions to the DAO. You don't have to put everything into the DAO, right? Don't overload it and think, oh gosh, you have to, now ramp up or change all of the existing systems. You don't. This is just a place where you can now begin to get into sort of a coherent state of your thing that you're building, right? The agreements you want to get to come to the place. So that for me is a good starting point, right? See how you come to the first agreements, and then see how you want to handle other members in the DAO, right? Are they invited personally? We opening up the borders, and then see how they join and what capacity too, right? So what kind of structure you want to put in place? Do you have structure already? So you can create the first circles, right? And then go from there deeper and deeper and deeper. It's a long journey, but it's an easy journey at the beginning because you can just start right away, right? You obviously you're already in there, so that's great. Take it step by step, right? And then see where they take you next. Also look at the education section on the website. We're launching more services, around how do you set up the DAO. We have more town halls coming, more workshops coming. So participate in those too, and then you'll get to know how this all works. Thank you.
That's great. Yeah, I think all those are going to be very helpful in terms of all those resources. I was looking through the list of features and I had a couple questions. One of them is regarding the policies, which seems, I love the openness of it. Just like any member of the DAO can post a policy, and then the one piece that don't quite understand is how does a DAO policy actually, or a DAO policy proposal actually become official policy? I'm assuming the voice tokens are involved in some way.
Yes, that's right, Andrew. So it's fairly straightforward. Like any other proposal, the policy is a special type of proposal, right? So it has a specific format, title, description, and version of it, and then you put it out there for voting, right? And as soon as that kicks in, you put it out there. You can put it in staging first. Say this is a policy that's a rough draft. Please review it. you get some input, and then at some point you're ready, right? We're really distinguishing here the sense-making step, right, to understand what is actually being proposed there, from the decision-making step, right? So ideally, the decision is just a confirmation that, well, yes, we created this policy. Let's say it's a membership policy here. We're all aligned and it looks good, right? But we haven't really clearly voted it in, right? So you put it out there, people are voting on it, and as soon as it passes, right? So let's say back to the 80-20 quorum. As soon as you have 80% of people supporting it and 20% of people showing up and saying, yep, that's the right thing, that's the policy we need, it would pass, right? And as soon as it passes, it becomes an official document in the DAO. There's a record of this. This is written on chain, right? It's irreversible. It's there for as long as the blockchain will exist, hopefully decades from now, right? And you can always refer back to this. And one cool thing I wanted to add to that, the policy typically goes through iterations, right? And we have a built-in versioning system, so you can actually go into the next iteration, do the same thing again, so you have now suddenly version 2, overriding the previous version of the policy, and then that's becoming the current document that you're working with. Hope this helps.
Yeah, absolutely. My other question was regarding the payout tokens. I was sort of trying to understand the flow for that. And how exactly are payout tokens paired one-to-one with USD value? Like from reading, it looks like it essentially uses the treasury, which is denominated in EOS or potentially Talos, to pay out to an account with that payout amount in USD converted to EOS by some oracle. That's kind of my assumption. I'm not sure if it is actually that way.
Yes, yeah. Let me drill down a little bit on how the payout token works. So that's the second token, right? Besides the native utility token that we have, that you have out of the box, you can use it on day one, right? We have the payout token and the voice token. So the payout token is tied to tokens that you have sitting in the treasury. So let's say you have EOS tokens in the treasury, right? Then you can actually say that if I contribute to the DAO, right, I run a quest, for example, right, and at the completion of the quest, I would request, 100 EOS tokens. That becomes a proposal inside the DAO, and as soon as the proposal passes, I automatically get the 100 EOS tokens. Now, there's another step in there just to ensure that people are not immediately, requesting this payout. Because for the health of the DAO, what we did is we installed what's called a redemption process. So now I have my 100. I have the right to redeem my 100 US tokens, right? So they're sitting in my own wallet now. I own them. And then maybe I don't need them, right? So I can say, let's leave it in the treasury for now. I don't need to pay this out. I've done this many times actually with my wallet, because I'm earning almost 100% only in Hypha tokens. But I do have also some US tokens there. So I can say tomorrow I really need these 100 US tokens. Then I would launch and kick off the redemption process that goes directly to the multi-sig function we have inside DAO. That would redeem this and then actually give me the EOS tokens. It's a transfer then from the treasury into my wallet, and then I can do whatever I want to do with this, right? And exchange it to fiat currency if I want to. But that's not limited to EOS, right? You can put anything you want into the treasury, like Bitcoin tokens, right? And redeem then those Bitcoin tokens. So that's the flexible payout token that helps people really to say, okay, some of us really need to pay bills, they have to feed the family, and they need to convert it to fiat currency, right? So that's a feature that's built into the DAO. Back to you.
Yeah, that provides a little bit more clarity. Thank you. That's cool. I didn't just reading the documentation, I didn't realize you could put other stuff in the treasury other than EOS or Talos. That's very cool to see. And I one thing I want to highlight is that by avoiding immediately putting the tokens on the market, especially if you're talking about like your own DAO's tokens, by avoiding putting that on the market immediately, you're avoiding the kind of downward price pressure that you would otherwise get on your tokens. So it's kind of a good way to kind of keep people invested in, not like literally invested, but just emotionally invested in the DAO. That's very cool.
Precisely, it is an important point because our idea is you grow your organization or your project through stages, right? And at the beginning, you want to create some value first. People need to recognize that the product or the service you're building here has the value. So we really want to make sure that this is established. Then you also have a core team established around this thing that you're building, right? And then once you get there, then you could take your token and say, okay, let's move that into a secondary market and see what the value is now reflected in the marketplace. If you do that too early, you will run into problems, right? And it might, really cause your project, get into trouble. But if you do it right and you wait and you have something substantial that you're building, then I think it's a great way to go into the next iteration of the thing you're building.
Yeah, that's a great point. Anyone in the audience have any questions or maybe got a chance to attend the town hall today? Want to share your experience or anything similar? Any thoughts?
Andrew, I have a very specific, practical question.
Sure, go for it.
Hello, Joaquin. Congratulations. What a day for you guys. Wow. I think I heard you said at one time that you started at 218. This is quite a road. So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
My
Thank you, Barry.
question, you're very welcome. You're very welcome. My question is a very practical one, because I know if they're like me, they're at your website right now and they're trying to figure out how they can create their new account. And everybody here is focused on EOS, and I noticed there's a little tab at the bottom that says "Want to proceed on EOS," and I definitely want to proceed on EOS. So I click on that. I get to a login page, and it offers me 3 buttons: create Hypha account, log in, and continue as guest. If I click on the login, then it shows me log in with Hypha wallet, which I don't have, or log in with Anchor, which I do have. So my question is, a very practical question: if I log in with Anchor, is that all I need, or do I need to go to a step for a preview? Do I need to create a Hypha account first and separate?
That's right. You do need to create the Hypha account, so we recognize you in our network, right? But you can use for that you can use your existing EOS account. So we don't need to create something new in this stage, but we need to make that connection to the Hypha network. And once you've done that, then you can continue using your Anchor wallet to sign any transaction. Or what I would suggest is then really to download the Hypha wallet. We just released a new version of that, and it makes it quite easy for people, especially people who are not familiar with the wallet technology and how to do all these keys and stuff. They can just use this new Hypha wallet that we released, and then begin to sign any transaction. There are a few steps to still recognize. There are a few steps involved to actually get to that, right? But I think we'll have smoothed out the process as much as possible. If you do have any questions, if you get stuck somewhere, just give us a ping. We're on Discord too, as you know. Just go into the community space there, and we'll help you out.
Fantastic. Thank you, Joaquin.
And if this is just an assumption on my end, but based on the UI, it looks like the Hypha wallet may be using aspects of Anchor. I know it does have that same scan QR code. Did you guys sort of leverage Anchor's work in that, or did you have to build your own?
I think it's a complete rewrite. I think our developers looked at, since that's open source too, looked at the technology and may have looked at some of the ways they are signing transactions. But as far as I know, that's a complete rewrite. So we have a complete new code base there. It's open source too, and the good thing is then from here we can actually add any other feature that you typically don't see in Anchor. So we want to put next all of the tokens in there so we can do peer-to-peer transactions with the same Hypha wallet with others.
Yeah, well, I think you correctly recognize that the UX of the Anchor wallet is very high quality. So good call on that. Anything else for Joaquim regarding Hypha DAO before we move on here?
Hi everyone.
Hey, who's this?
It's Willow.
Hey, how's it going?
Yeah, great. I just have a quick question for. So the question goes like this: how long does it take for Hypha to process an applicant?
Oh, that's an easy question. It's immediate. What you can do today is go to the website. Perry mentioned a little bit, to create a Hypha account. That's free. You can get that done immediately. Once you have that account set up, there's a DAO launcher, right? And the DAO launcher is what we released today. That means that's the way to launch your own DAO. You can choose the free one, so you can have up to, I think, five co-founders here, and set it up in a matter of minutes, right? And once that's done, you're up and running. You can invite others into the DAO, right? And then go from there. So nothing really holding you back to get started. Did I answer your question?
Thanks. Yeah, sure. But at the same time, I still see that my name appears under applicants, and which means I am not yet a member. I think I have to be accepted, correct?
Oh, interesting. Maybe you're already a step ahead here. That means, once somebody else has set up a DAO, you can actually apply to become a member, right? So if you're not the one who's launching the whole thing, then maybe someone else did, and then you can apply to become a member. Once that happens, inside the DAO, you will see you are an applicant, right? So you show up in the list of members that want to join the DAO, right? And then that's a matter of accepting you into the DAO. That's all. So that's a step that anybody who's already inside the DAO can take. Usually this is one of the co-founders there that has what's called an admin badge. They automatically get the admin badge at the beginning, and they can admit the other members to the DAO.
Yeah, this is Lovejoy. I went through this process earlier today, and I think I suspect that what's happening is there's that. I can't remember what the button said, but I couldn't resist clicking it, and so it was a request to join the Hypha DAO, which, since it's an eponymous name, you just want to click it. Like, yeah, I want to join the Hypha DAO. And then once you click that, then it says your application is check back or it's pending. So I think you're probably going to get a lot of people just joining the Hypha DAO because.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
I forgot about that, Brandon. That's exactly it. Yes. See, the Hypha DAO, that's kind of that's the organization who's launching the whole thing, right? And we're also looking for people, of course. We're looking to expand our organization, adding more developers in the future, right? Adding more marketing, consulting staff. Early days, right? But once we get to that point, when we need to expand our own staff, right? Then we're opening up. We're also opening up, of course, once the community space is up and running. So with the community space, it becomes much easier to get closer to a DAO. That includes the Hypha DAO. We'll have our own community space. And you guys, everybody who's opening up his own DAO is able to invite people into the community space. And that can go very big in numbers, right? There can be hundreds, if you want to, thousands of people inside the community space who then can start to participate and interact really with the core team part of the DAO. Well, thank you for that question. Now I get it.
So is the community space, is that sort of like a forum or like social media type thing where you can like chat with people, or is it, am I misunderstanding that?
Great question. So for us, the community is a space where you can begin to participate, with decisions that are made in the DAO. I mentioned the upvote election process. You could have delegates, let's say, sitting in this space, beginning to decide and put up new proposals for the DAO, right? So it is less, I would say, a social space. For that, you have other tools, right? And we don't want to sort of disrupt what people already have set up, what communities have set up in sort of the social community organizing space, right? They may use Telegram, Discord, other ways of having this conversational space, right? The DAO is much more an agreement space where you say, okay, we actually need some funding coming in. How do we distribute the funding? We want to hear from our community about that. Or we have community members, wanting to launch a quest and get these tokens as a reward for that. And then the quest needs to go through the proposal stages and then need to be approved, and then you can go. I mean, very much what many blockchain spaces, including EOS, is doing with the worker proposal system, when new things coming up all the time. But now you have an opportunity to say, what are the important proposals, and what do we do, and decide sort of the future direction of the DAO. And it's all out there. You mentioned the transparency. That's the beauty of this. I can go into any DAO and look at the current proposals that are up and up and running for voting. And if I'm a member of the DAO, I can now participate, right? That's the beauty of this new ecosystem that we're building up here together.
So it sounds like it's a little more formalized than just like a social media space.
That's right. That's right. I would say that's a good way to put it.
Nice. Well, thank you for that additional context. No, I was just saying thank you. Go for it.
Joaquim, I hope you don't mind me asking another practical question, because I'm sure everybody is creating their own accounts as we speak from the EOS community. And I've followed the instructions, and I'm on my phone, and it's asking me to create my Hypha account. And I have a really important question that I think has the potential to create a lot of hassle for me if I do it wrong. So I'm going to ask it here, and hope that it'll benefit other people as well. It's asking for my name, my account name. And my question is, what is the relationship between my Hypha account name and my EOS account name? Should they be the same? What effects would it have if they were different?
If they're different, you're creating a new account, right? If you're using the same name, you can use the same account, and it's just attached to Hypha, the Hypha network. I would say, if you get stuck somewhere, just post it into the Discord channel. See if people can help you out there. But at a practical level, I would not change the name. Otherwise, you're creating another new account, right? But that's not necessary, because you can use the existing account for that. But again, I think the Discord support will help you get that established.
Okay, thank you very much.
Sure.
Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for your great questions here. Anything else before we move on? All right, I think we can move on. Any last thoughts, Joaquim, before we get to our next topic?
Oh, thank you so much for this, for the invitation, and for all the good conversations we had in the past. We've been working towards this for a long time, and now it's here. Happy to support EOS and your community and all the members here, and see what we can do in the future. So yeah, thank you for having me.
Absolutely, anytime. Yeah, I know I've been excited about Hypha DAO since I first heard of it, which was probably back in 2019. So I think a lot of members of the community have been patiently awaiting this moment.
Okay, let me jump off. Thanks, everyone. See what's going on today.
Awesome. Thanks, Joaquim.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Moving on to our next topic, which is EOS EVM on DappRadar. So everyone here, well, maybe not everyone, but a lot of people here may be familiar with DappRadar. They index over 14,000 dApps and more than 33,000 NFT collections across 54 different chains. And they fall into categories like games, NFTs, and DeFi. You can view metrics like the number of unique active wallets, number of transactions, and all sorts of information like that. Until now, only EOS native dApps could be tracked on the DappRadar platform. But this latest integration extends that functionality to EOS EVM. So I'll share a little Twitter thread here. Feel free to pamp that if you'd like, as in like, comment, all that good stuff. And you can also check out the actual DappRadar EOS EVM page to check out the dApps that are currently listed there. As a side note, there are many more than that are deployed, but they have not yet been included. So if you're a builder with projects that are live on the EOS EVM, you should feel free to submit your project through the DappRadar submission form. And that works for EOS Native too. If you or somebody you know is a project owner and would like to submit their dApp to DappRadar, you can just use this submission form here. If you're interested in learning more, on October 17th at 3 p.m. UTC, which is 8 a.m. Pacific, 11 a.m. Eastern, if my math is right, there will be an X space or Twitter space with DappRadar that the ENF is hosting. So shout out to that. It's called Exploring Emerging Web3 Trends with DappRadar. So I'll post the link here. Make sure to set a reminder again for October 17th at 1500 UTC and join the conversation on the latest Web3 trends. So yeah, it's that's DappRadar right there. I'll open it up in case anyone's got something to add to that. If anyone's a fan of DappRadar, you know.
I'll add one thing.
Sure.
It's Plays app. If you're looking at, if this is the first time you're actually clicking the link, the Plays app numbers are a little bit messed up because I think they deployed a new contract and replaced their old contract on DappRadar, so it's not combining them. So because the reason I bring this up is I took a screenshot on Monday, and I'm going to share it in the group chat here to showcase over the last 30 days, they've actually had over 28,000 unique active wallets using their DApp. But if you check it right now, since they haven't had time to fix it, I just brought it to their attention today. It's only showing like 8,000 or 9,000 over the last 30 days. But the correct number is the screenshot that I shared in the group chat. So they've been killing it.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone has gotten the opportunity to download Plays app, but I did, and I've been playing the solitaire. It's there's something exciting about playing solitaire against somebody else, which is, I mean, solitaire. It's in the name, usually a solitary game, so it kind of spices it up a little bit. I don't know if anyone else has gotten an opportunity to play, but very well done app in my opinion.
Yeah, and there should be, so Plays app is obviously one of the most successful new apps that's deployed to EOS. And we kind of told their story on previous firesides, how they were at one point one of the top games on BNB chain. And I shared in the ENF Telegram group the stat, just in case anyone was curious, after I shared the 28,000 unique active wallets on EOS, I shared the BNB chain numbers, and it's like 100. So they've almost exclusively migrated their entire user base to the EOS EVM. So all of those transactions are now happening on the EOS EVM. And I could also share that over the last couple of months, there have been several other projects similar to Plays app where they kind of bring that like usability and ease of use with the mobile app. One of them that's kind of been on the back burner for a little bit just passed some KYC that was pending for a while, and they should be deploying within the next couple of weeks. And it's another big one, similar to PlayZap, that'll bring a lot of users. They already have an existing user base, and they'll be bringing them to the EOS EVM. And when they do, we'll probably be bringing them on Fireside, doing some Twitter Spaces, introducing them to all of you. There's some other ones too, but this is the one that's just most recently had an update that they progressed to the next step, and it's one that had kind of been simmering in the background for a while, let's say.
That's great. And what was the name of that one again?
I didn't say the name.
Oh,
and
okay.
I'm not going to.
Oh, I
But
see.
it's just one that's similar to PlayZap, where it's like a fun game. It's a mobile app. They abstract the crypto stuff to make it super easy to onboard, and they have an existing user base. So they're already on DappRadar, just not for EOS EVM, and they'll be deploying soon, and then obviously bringing a big chunk of their user base over.
Yeah, and I don't know when PlayZap updated, but as a user, I didn't notice anything. They've much in the same way that Upland does. They've sort of abstracted that whole blockchain layer, so it's just running in the background. And as a user, you basically don't need to touch it unless you're transferring actual assets between wallets. Well, thank you for that additional context. Oh.
EOS Labs has been active too, just on the note of more applications, which is something everyone wants to see. They shared in the EOS Labs Telegram group, both the Chinese and the English one, they shared at least 15 decks so that, of projects that are kind of looking to deploy in EOS. That doesn't mean any terms have been agreed upon yet, but just they've been pretty good with giving updates recently on some of their deal flow to get some sneak peeks into some of the potential projects that we could see over the coming months. But just keep in mind that the decks that they shared, like no capital has been deployed, no agreements have been made as far as I'm aware. But there is deal flow like outside of those, so that's continuing also. So that's why this DappRadar is pretty important, because otherwise it's not, even if the applications were deployed, like PlayZap was deployed for a couple of weeks before the DappRadar integration was made public. So it was like really hard to share the excitement of how many daily active users they were accumulating. I was sharing numbers in the Telegram group, like just via text, and it was killing me not being able to like mention that the DappRadar integration was going to be happening, because only I had access to the numbers, but they weren't like public, which is why DappRadar is so cool, because it's basically taking all of the data that's already happening on chain, but making it like super accessible and digestible to the community.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a pastime of visiting DappRadar and comparing all of the chains. You notice a lot of Antelope chains in there. I think probably something to do with the performance. Oh, shout out Antelope developers for keeping blockchain transactions moving for everyone. Awesome. Well, thank you, Zach. I appreciate you hopping in with a little bit of extra information there. Anyone else have any thoughts on this integration with DappRadar? All right, I think we can move on to our next topic, which is a couple updates on ENF community engagement. So Liam may be in here. I may ask you to hop on in just a moment. But as I understand, you're going to tell us about some changes to the Fireside Chat schedule, as well as, I don't know, you've you got the information.
Yeah, that's pretty much the biggest one to start. So yeah, we're doing a number of changes right now to essentially increase the effectiveness of the content that we push out through the Marcom department. So as Marcom, right, there are two, I guess, primary purposes if we want to be fairly reductionist and boil it down, though, of the content that we create. Part of it is communicating things to the community and making sure that you guys are in the loop on everything that we're working on, and that is a two-way communication street, that we're not just telling you what's going on, but we're also building feedback from you guys and listening to you guys to understand how we can improve what we're doing and bring that back to everyone working within the ENF. But the other side of it, the Mar part of Marcom, is marketing as well. And so we also want to be constantly reassessing our content and increasing the effectiveness of it so that we can increase the reach of it and make it more effective from a marketing standpoint to bring people into our ecosystem to then become part of the community, where that comms part of content is targeted towards. So with that, and with also the sort of current state of markets and the resources that we have to sort of allocate towards each initiative that we push out there, we are reassessing and restructuring how we approach Fireside. That is not to say that the forum that is Fireside, which is this wonderful, community conversation that we have between people in the ENF and the community, is going away. Currently, we are running our office hours on Thursdays, and that is an hour-long slot at 11 Eastern. I'll have to double check what the UTC time is on that. I'll try to find that while I'm chatting. But on Thursdays, where there are people from the ENF in a voice chat to connect with the community and field, comments, questions, things like that, or just hang out and chat. And so those office hours are going to continue every Thursday at 11 a.m. Eastern, which in PT, should know this off by heart, but I do
It's
not.
8 a.m. PT.
8 a.m. PT, there you go. So,
And plus 7, 1500. I think that means it's 3 p.m. UTC.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that. And then on the Fireside side of things, within this current format, we will be migrating the format to a more production-heavy approach, I guess, something that will still serve the purpose of updating the community on all of the things that are going on across the ecosystem, but in a lot more of an intentional and hopefully effective format and way. So lots of stuff still happening in Discord as well, but we are going to be taking a brief pause on the Fireside for a couple of weeks. I believe next week we will still have a Fireside, but then following that we will take a break for probably 2 to 3 weeks, pending a potential production up level of what Fireside is. After that, it might even have a new name. Open to ideas if people want to jump in my DMs and learn more about sort of the direction of things and help give some ideas on how we present this. Again, people who are more outside our community and get them up to date on everything. But we will have more details on that as we go. I'm seeing here people saying don't change the name, and I'm all for that. If a lot of people say we love the name, we can of course keep the name as well. But that's sort of the TLDR on that. So Fireside will be paused for a couple of weeks. Next week we are still on track to run this event as usual. Office hours, as always, will be going every Thursday, and then we will come back with what I hope will be a very exciting, effective show for you guys that will happen on a monthly rolling basis in tandem with now our Twitter Spaces, our office hours, and these more high-level overviews of our entire community. You'll also see a lot of other changes coming to our content in the next couple of months. Again, this is just to make things more effective for their intents and purposes. So, how we are reporting back to the community on the things that are going on behind the scenes and how we are updating new, stakeholders, developers, people like that on why they should become a part of our community and get involved in it. So keep your eyes out for all of that. I'm really excited about it. It's going to be pretty cool as this stuff rolls out.
So I'm curious, maybe you haven't figured out the details of this yet, but are you expecting that this, let's still call it the Fireside Chat, because that seems to be so far the the preference.
I appreciate it. All of the gifts.
Is the Fireside Chat, is that going to be on Discord or like YouTube, or are you sort of still figuring that part out?
I'd say we're still figuring that part of it out. and there's still like some internal conversations that have to happen around that. I will say, I think it's okay to say that we are still looking at other platforms, and that is not to say that we are moving away from Discord as a channel that we support, but that we now have a lot of other initiatives that are happening in Discord. And so the idea of running these high-level updates on everything that's going on in the community and across the ecosystem, and sort of restructuring things from a standpoint of how can we get things further out the funnel and push people into our Discord community. Yeah, we're absolutely looking at some other platforms, potentially YouTube, things like that. And so also looking at how we migrate things to maybe more of a video format as well. And so this is all kind of still up in the air and in those early planning stages, but the taking a brief break will allow us to figure that sort of stuff out. And then when we do come back, it will most likely be on a monthly cadence that we do really run these really big high-level check-ins. Again, there'll be the weekly check-ins, very much kind of just like what this format is now, but just happening in our office hours as a forum for that. So doing that on a monthly cadence will allow us to put a lot more production value behind these events and make them a lot more epic if all goes well.
I'll jump in too. So as far as like testing the waters of some other platforms, so in addition to the Thursday office hours in Discord that will continue, Nathan James is hosting a developer session in the Antelope Developers Telegram group to see how that works. That'll be on this upcoming Tuesday. I haven't touched base with Nathan today to know if that's the date will always be, but he's more or less just, since that's where the developers really hang out, they're not so much having their conversations in Discord, that there will be an office hour for developers this upcoming Tuesday in the Antelope Developers Telegram group.
Yeah,
So that definitely was the intention. We've been running these in Zoom historically, but we wanted to make sure that everybody who is already in that developer community had access to that call. And we came to the understanding that perhaps a lot of people don't even have Zoom installed, and just wanted to make sure that we are doing our best to be on the platform and meet developers where they're at instead of trying to bring people to us.
Yep. And then just to jump in on one more thing that Liam mentioned, just for some extra color. One of the limitations of Discord is when we have more than 30 people in here, which is pretty much every week for the Fireside, it doesn't allow video. So as Liam mentioned, like we do want to incorporate video because like you've probably seen, like we do the YouTube shorts and the Fireside clips. Sometimes we ramp up and do more depending on the news. But it's just much more engaging, like short clips, video, like Instagram style, TikTok style videos. You can't really do them on these audio only conversations. So that's part of it also, is just we're having these conversations anyway. They're just much more engaging with video, knowing that most people on the call are going to keep their videos off, but the people that speak the most will likely be comfortable keeping them on. And then we can generate more content from the time being spent on these calls. To help further the messages.
I think one more thing that this sort of all speaks to, because Fireside used to be, and this was again before my time, but even when I started about a little over a year ago, Fireside was one of our primary, if not our only, really regular, reoccurring event that we had in the ecosystem. Now we run lots of events, the developer roundtable stuff, right? The Twitter Spaces, webinars, and obviously still the Fireside, office hours, and all of that sort of stuff. So all this, I think, just really speaks to like the growth that we've seen as an ecosystem and the like breadth of topics that we have to cover, and how we can ensure that we're curating that content in a way that it's most effective to the audience, to the content that's being presented, and that sort of thing as well. So yeah.
One thing maybe I'll add is something that I think is a really powerful thing that we have access to in this Fireside Chat, which is bringing on project owners and being able to ask them more specific questions about their projects and that kind of thing. So I would just like to, personally, I would advocate for still being able to have some sort of forum like that whether it's in the context of the fireside chat or if that's going to be more targeted towards just sharing news versus, I don't know, maybe in the office hours, bring people in or something like that. But I just wanted to advocate for that specific sort of benefit I see of the fireside chat. I'm just throwing that out there.
For sure, I definitely hear that as well, and I don't think we want to shy away from like our role within the ENF is elevating projects and the news that is coming through projects within our ecosystem. So there will definitely, within the new sort of format of Fireside, be a portion of it that is dedicated to bringing on a project or projects to talk about what is going on. In addition to that, too, a new thing we've ramped up probably within about it's maybe only been a month, maybe a month and a half that we've been doing it consistently on a weekly basis, but our weekly panels on Twitter Spaces as well that are highlighting several projects at a time around a specific industry topic that can help bring in again be higher up the funnel, elevate these projects in a way that we're bringing in audiences that are outside of our ecosystem as well. And so those will also continue to be a platform for that. And even though those topics that we're sort of coordinating these events around are fairly broad, for example, we did an event on DAOs about a week ago that was talking about DAO adoption, and we brought in not only Hypha, but we also brought in the Upscale community. We brought in DreamDAO, and there might have been one other DAO that was also involved there. DreamDAO is actually a DAO from outside of our ecosystem, so that was cool to start to build some ties there. But we're still timing these events to some extent around news that these projects are happening. So trying to run a DAO event around the Hypha DAO milestones and elevate them in that regard. There will also be, in addition to Fireside, again, more avenues as we continue to iterate that we're thinking about of how can we make sure that the news that is going on around within the community that's not just coming out of the ENF but coming out of the projects and the people within the ecosystem can be elevated to our audience. We've talked about things like a community calendar, forward-looking updates on the community events, or retrospective updates on the stuff that's happening coming out of the community. So I'm all in favor of making sure that we don't lose momentum behind elevating the projects within our ecosystem and the awesome work that's being done there. I think one other thing also to note here is, again, going back to the purpose, the splitting apart the MAR and the COM. On the COM side of things, when we're creating this content, it is a lot more reactive in nature. It's looking at the stuff that's happening within the ecosystem, happening within the protocol engineers, happening within an organization, and communicating that forward. On the marketing side of things, we want to make sure that our content is becoming more proactive, that we're taking a thought leadership standpoint and not reacting to the trends that are happening in the industry in real time, but seeing the trends that are coming up and thinking about how we can create content that positions us within those conversations based on all the innovation that's happening across the ecosystem. So that's another big part of this intent of being more, as we sort of evolve this to its next stage and make it more production heavy, is making sure that the EOS network and the leaders within the ecosystem are seen as thought leaders, not just within EOS, but also within the industry, and that we're positioning ourselves within those topics. So that'll be part of a broader strategy that's still also gradually being worked out, but plays into this up-leveling, I'm going to call it, of what Fireside is.
Yeah, and I'm glad to hear that the reduction in the number of fireside chats is not just a reduction in the number of fireside chats. It's that plus a bunch of additional sort of avenues. So it's sort of like broadening the horizon. Instead of there being like one big event every single week, it's like there's one big event every month, and then got sort of each week there's a different event. It kind of spices it up a little bit. I like it.
Yeah, we want it to look like a party, right? So that whenever someone comes into our ecosystem or is peering through the window of our ecosystem, maybe they get a little FOMO because of all the different events that are going on and want to come in and start engaging.
Yeah, and with each of those kind of targeted Twitter Spaces events, you're bringing people, you're sort of reaching out to these people to see, hey, are you interested in this thing? All right, come check it out. It sounded like, Zach, you were about to say something.
Yeah, just this would have been a different conversation if it was, like early 2022 when the Fireside Chat was the only weekly event going on. like we've already put systems in place for the office hours, the Twitter Spaces, the webinars, the roundtables. So it's really not. It's different than it would have been in 2020, early 2022 when we first started the Fireside Chats. So everything you get from the Fireside Chats, you'd still get like from the monthly Fireside Chat plus like all of these other more focused events, more purposeful other events. And I just wanted to take the opportunity before we move on as a reminder, anyone can host an event in the Discord. So it's not exclusive to the Fireside Chats. There have been other projects and people who have leveraged the Discord server to host their own either voice or video events, but video events are limited to 30 people, but some events are smaller like that, so it's okay. But I did just want to throw that out there that if people want to leverage the platform, there are ways to do so still.
That's great, and I'm really glad that there's all that other content and all those other touch points, because I do like my personal experience with the Fireside Chat is I was in the background of the EOS community, just watching, listening. I wasn't even participating in the Telegram chats, but I joined in on a Fireside Chat, and that's actually how I got my job with EOS Nation. So it's a really important touch point, or rather, it is really important to have touch points, and so that's why I'm glad to hear that. Now, not only do we have the Fireside Chat, but we've also got the these other Discord events like the office hours and the Twitter Spaces events, and yeah, it seems like it's not a reduction in number of events; it's a reduction in the number of a specific event. So I'll encourage
also,
everyone on this Fireside Chat to join those other ones.
And also taking a little bit of a breather to kind of relaunch and reload. That's why we'll be taking a couple of weeks off instead of just putting something else in this time slot right away. It's more or less taking advantage of the extra time that was previously spent like being on this call, and then also factoring in the time spent preparing for these calls and the production behind the calls. There's a lot of people involved. There are a lot of really talented people that are pretty much the lifeblood of this ecosystem.
Yeah, I will say I wouldn't have minded if you went down to once a month Fireside Chats before I was tasked with hosting, but that's a side note. Is that the expected cadence is sort of monthly?
Most likely. Yeah, we're still figuring that out. Part of this is actually just understanding, like figuring out how we can up-level the production of it. I'm excited to sort of roll out some of those ideas and for you guys to see that. Does not mean that Fireside won't at some point in the future ramp up to a bi-weekly or then even weekly cadence if we find that we can sort of maintain that. But in the short term, it'll be monthly. But playing into a larger, I guess, rhythm of the content that we are putting out there that we're sort of looking at. And so following things like our monthly newsletter coming out shortly after there's email blasts around that, or where we situate larger pieces of news in our monthly cadence so that we can make sure that we're running these at the Fireside the most effective point in the month from like a hype standpoint, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
Another thing. Sorry, go for it.
No, just one of the like really convenient things, and one of the purposes behind the Fireside Chat when we first started as on a weekly basis was it was something that was already on everyone's calendar. So like anytime something would come up or there'd be an announcement or a fire, like there would always be the Fireside Chat there. So we would like strategically like be able to break news on a Tuesday or a Wednesday morning, and then knowing that the Fireside Chat was happening. So anytime there is like a big event or big news and it's like an off week of a Fireside Chat, you could assume that there will be some other format where things will be like hyper communicated, whether it be a Twitter space or like a live stream on YouTube. There will be other means of like providing more detail than what might be in like a press release or whatnot for like big news or events. Or we'll time it also strategically around when the monthly fireside is coming up. That's a possibility too.
One suggestion I have for leveling up the production quality would be a fireplace. Would be a nice addition to the fireside chat.
It is almost winter for us
Yeah.
Northern Hemisphere folk.
Send all of the attendees their own, electric fireplaces to plug in while they sit and listen to the fireside. That would be my goal, probably in the next bull market.
I'm surprised we never had a sound effect for crackling fire.
Oh man,
That's a big miss.
I have like 1,400 sound effects on here. They're mostly drums, but there might be a crackling fire in here. Next week.
We
I'll save it for next week.
I instigated that at one point, and Steph brought it in, but I don't know whatever happened to it. I think it got lost somewhere. There we go. For now we can imagine and just stare into the flames. Crackle, crackle, crackle.
Nice. Yeah, that's. I'll have to find a fireplace sound. I'll add it to my machine. I've still got one pad unused. So this is my little kick drum pad here. But yeah, so that should be good. I think just it's not quite a fireside chat without a fire, But that we'll cross that bridge when we get to it. I'll load up the crackling fire sound, and we'll get it started next week. See if it sets the vibe properly. All right. Anything else? Any questions from the community? Any recommendations on how to level up the video? All right. I did hear something. Was someone trying to speak there? All right. Well, in that case, I think we can move on to our next topic here, which is regarding Alcor Farms, or Alcor Farm. I'm not sure which one it is. Kind of sounds like a futuristic Knott's Berry farm, but it's not. Alcor Farm is a platform where you can add liquidity and then harvest a portion of the total reward of the liquidity that you've added for a set period of time, say 30 days or 90 days. The farm allows you to set very specific parameters for your transactions, like you can set your slippage tolerance, the minimum and maximum prices that you want your tokens locked in for, as well as you can choose specific fee tiers, which helps adapt to tokens with really low or really high liquidity. If you're interested in checking it out, no, I thought I had the link saved here. Let me find the link real quick. But there is already a farm on or for Alien Worlds. So it looks like they've got a few wax tokens available, and we'll be onboarding EOS tokens as well. One interesting side note is that one of the tokens listed here has a maximum supply of 1. So, a little fun fact there.
What's the precision?
I think it's 8 digits of precision, if I remember correctly.
We could all fight over that 1. It's quite a lot.
It's an interesting idea, although it's a little gimmicky, but whatever. That's gimmicky is often the secret to success in this industry. As the case may be. So I don't know if we've got anyone who's gotten a chance to mess around with that. I don't have any of these, so it's like a 2-sided liquidity pool. You want to put in both tokens, but I only have the wax token. I don't have the other tokens. I haven't gotten a chance to try it out yet, but if anyone has, you're welcome to share. All right, moving on. Okay. Yeah, so before we get to our next topic, just want to remind everybody of the POP token giveaway. Make sure to go to the PopBot chat and claim your POP tokens, which I have already done. I was a little late for my favorite number, but that's all right. All right, moving on. Our next topic is the Chintai launch event. Chintai, which is the fully compliant platform for real-world assets, is hosting a live in-person launch event in Singapore tomorrow. And that's on the 12th of October at 9:30 a.m. Singapore time. So I don't know how many people here are in Singapore. It's pretty late in Singapore, so I think it's somewhere around 3 a.m. So I would be surprised, but definitely possible. And it looks like there may still be time if you want to get a last-minute plane ticket to Singapore so you can attend. That's you've got, what is it? Looks like, oh no, I don't want to do the math. You've got a number of hours left, probably approximately the duration of the plane flight to Singapore. So it's a good opportunity there. For a little bit of background, the idea of tokenizing real-world assets is really starting to catch on. CoinDesk has even reported it as a $1 trillion opportunity. And I can share that article, actually. Some good quotes from there. And this is not just people in crypto. This is people kind of all over the financial industry. A thesis increasingly shared within crypto and traditional finance is that the tokenization of real-world assets, aka RWAs, will form the backbone of the next bull run and unlock the transfer of trillions of dollars of value into crypto. And I think this is a good way to put it. Real-world asset tokenization will unlock a new golden age in blockchain and traditional finance. Real-world assets use a blockchain to tokenize assets that actually are real things in the real world. This includes commodities, fine art, real estate, and financial instruments like stocks and bonds. And this professor, the blockchain academic named Jason Potts, I think, put it well. He said, now that we can tokenize all the world's physical products and services into a common, interoperable format, list them within a single public ledger, and enable market transactions with low costs of trust, which are governed by rules encoded within and enforced by the underlying substrate, what then? Then, computable capital enables programmable commerce, but more than that, it enables what we might call, and I love this phrase, a Turing-complete economy, which is something that I've been imagining as the eventual kind of end game crypto. And so I'm excited to see it coming to Chintai, and I'm very excited that Chintai has got their platform. And they're just about to launch, as in T-minus less than 24 hours. So shout out Chintai. Oh, meant to do that one. There we go. Anyone have anything to add or some questions?
Yeah, I'll add some context. If you guys can hear me okay. So,
Is this Zach?
Yeah, this is Zach Butler,
Zach.
not Zach Gall. Other Zach, yeah. So this idea is actually not new, and I'm really grateful and excited to see that it's finally getting some attention. So this idea has been around since at least 2013, which I kind of touched on last week when we were talking about new names for NFTs or whatever week that was. But this idea has been around since at least 2013 with colored tokens or tainted tokens on Bitcoin, where they tie an asset to an unspent transaction output. And then the first asset sold on the blockchain, like big asset, as far as I know, was in 2015 or so, and that was a house in Canada, a house and land So the deed was put into a trust, and then the trust was defined as the owner, like the person holding a token, and then that's how they sold the house. And so that was kind of interesting. And then that's been done on Ethereum as well. So like this kind of circles back to our conversation about what should we call NFTs now that NFTs have bad names. Because like selling blurry JPEGs, I've always thought was kind of dumb. Not gonna lie, thought about buying a zombie Pepe once or twice, but selling JPEGs from Google Images kind of dumb. But selling like putting the deed of a house, putting the title of a car, boat, RV, all that kind of stuff on chain, that's always been the value proposition of NFTs, if you want to use that term, or colored tokens or tainted tokens, whatever you want to call them. So, I mean, I'm excited that people are finally realizing this, but there's definitely a long history to this practice.
I'm curious, what do you see as the primary benefit of, for example, having your house deed on the blockchain? Because as I'm imagining it seemed like it would be cool. As a fan of blockchain, I'd be like, that's cool. But I mean, the government's not going to recognize it. They recognize their own, whatever's in their own ledgers, not a distributed ledger, you know?
I can speak to that. Oh, go ahead.
Sure. Okay, I'll go. So, fair criticism. I think that the governments do recognize it. So there have been very few jurisdictions where this has actually gone to court, but in the ones where this has gone to court, like New York, the state of New York in the United States is an example, they actually have recognized tokenized ownership as legitimate on a blockchain, with probably very narrow and specific language. But to your question about like the value proposition, the honest answer is I don't know. So I hope the other person speaking up has a better answer, because my only really good answer is lowered friction and maybe lowered risk. So, like, for example, let's say I've got a car and I take out a loan against my title. So now I've got a lien on the title. There's a lot of cases where people buy cars or even houses and they don't know that there's a lien against the deed or the title. That would not ever be possible on a blockchain. You could look that up instantly. The other value proposition is like closing real estate. Like my friend paid $12,000 in closing costs for his house, and that's absurd. I've never really bought or sold a house, so that's hard to imagine for someone just pushing a little bit of paper. But it cuts all that out too. If you want to take loans or escrow with these titles and deeds, it just lowers the friction to all that. It makes it completely transparent, so you could never really end up in a situation where you buy a car or a house and you find out there's a lien on it.
That's a good point. The availability of the data is much higher with distributed ledgers than, I mean, you could go down to your county clerk's office and ask them to dig through their filing cabinet for the deed to a house or something like that, but much easier to just look it up on a block explorer.
I'll add something after Perry if Perry wants to go.
Thanks, Brandon. Yeah, what I can add is what has been shared on the publicly. I'm going to hold off on the name of the company because I'm going to, just out of respect of the Chintai team, but I'm going to describe it instead. One of their clients is a real estate company, and they're going to be digitizing real estate. And what that means is putting it on the blockchain and dividing the ownership into individual tokens. And so, what does that mean for the world? What it means is people of the younger generations, probably younger than myself, but of the younger generations who are really frustrated in their inability to purchase homes because of inflation and so on, they'll be able to benefit from real estate ownership by being able to purchase individual portions of real estate instead of the entire real estate, and they'll be able to benefit from the stability of that, or the increase in valuations with regard to that, which is very different. Real estate right now is a massive asset in the world that is completely illiquid. Well, not totally, but practically very illiquid. And the advent of tokenization in real estate itself, just a massive thing. And that's just one portion of Chintai's business. That's not talking about carbon credits or tokenization of bond debt. I can say that I have been closely monitoring Chintai for years now, and this is something much larger than what most people believe, and I think it's something incredible. It's a huge change that they are at the very forefront of. So I encourage people to look closely at what they're doing, and I'm excited for the team. They've been working hard, and it's awesome. It's just awesome. I'm excited about it right now. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, that's great. And that's a great point about that tokenized real estate, for example, is kind of natively, I don't know if there's a word, fractionalizable. But you can take something that is, that is otherwise sort of non-fungible, if you will, at risk of drawing comparisons to JPEGs. But it's by tokenizing it, you are adding fungibility, being able to fractionalize it, and in addition, as you mentioned, you've also got native liquidity benefits. So a house you can't sell, but maybe a token that represents a portion, proportional ownership of a house, that would be much easier to sell. That's a great point, Barry. Thank you. Brandon, do you want to add something to that? Or do you speaking up earlier?
Yeah, I think Perry touched on a lot of good points there. I think it's big in the sense that markets for this just don't exist yet, and so you can look at the individual instance of tokenized real world assets and say we've always had this, or this has been around for a long time, but that's kind of maybe missing the bigger picture, which is that it's not been, not only has it not been widely available, there's been no marketplaces for it anywhere in existence. So while you may be able to do that, it's functionally useless. But if you have a marketplace or a number of marketplaces that are able to, create where different I don't even know what to call like the participants in these markets, because right, like it's also like very highly regulated territory as well, which something to bear in mind. So depending on which market these are launching in, with Shintai, of course, it's Singapore, and I know they're exploring other jurisdictions as well. But yeah, you get into interesting situations where you could trade fractionalized assets against each other. You could like short, like I know I did an interview with Philip at one point, and we were talking about like trading, for instance, real estate in one market against real estate in another market, and betting on like the price differential, like the different change of value relative to those two markets. So it's like it creates all sorts of weird, I think, weird markets that we can't even probably imagine right now. And I was mentioning this earlier today too. I mean, there was a project a while back that was talking about tokenizing like waste, for instance. So it's like there's just a ton of trash and pollution that goes into the dump every year, and a lot of it gets sorted, but there's no good way to track it or to assign value for it. And then even if it's tracked and has a value assigned to it, nobody knows that it's available. There's no market for it. There's no way to assign. There's no way for the market to reach like some sort of value for it. But it's like a platform like what Shintai is building, or any other platform that can handle that sort of thing kind of creates like a new discovery mechanism, I think, for all sorts of value streams, if you will, to emerge, because it reduces the cost and it creates an opportunity for lots of small players to provide like individual inputs, I guess, you know. Yeah, so I just kind of expect like we haven't seen kind of like the fraction of what this is going to do, and I'm sure there's like some horrible like dystopian dark angle to all this too. Like we'll have to confront that as well, um, but also I see it just increasing access to markets to like a ton of people that haven't traditionally been able to access these sorts of things and haven't had the kind of capital to enter into a lot of these realms. So that's kind of cool too.
Yeah, and
I'd like to touch. Oh, go ahead.
oh, I just wanted to add one side benefit of that is in order to have an efficient market, you need lots of players with lots of information, and a lot of these assets basically you don't have good information. Like if you're trying to sell your house, you kind of look on Zillow maybe, but you don't really know what to list it for because house, as we were discussing before, is pretty illiquid and it's non-fungible, and so it's not as easy to have price discovery as you would have with something that was more liquid and more fungible. And this sort of opens that possibility up. Yeah. Perry, you were going to say something?
Yeah, I just want to add that Chintai has a unique design, which won't be launched tomorrow, but half of it will be launched tomorrow for at least one client, as I understand. But that's for the real world assets. Tomorrow, those are the regulated. Well, let's call them the highly regulated ones out of Singapore, the ones that we're talking about real estate and bond debt, and not tomorrow, but that side is referred to. They call that the Chintai Singapore. The unique design is that they have another side, like another sphere. You could think of it as two spheres of the brain, or any two spheres. The other side is what we normally would think as a regular crypto exchange, where it will have Bitcoin and Ethereum, and it won't have all the coins, but it'll have the top ones. And these two are going to share liquidity pools, and the token that is will be required to participate in both of these spheres, in both of these ecosystems, let's call them, is a single coin, which is their checks token. That's the CHEX token, and it's a unique design that token is the lifeblood, so to speak, of a regulated market, and also we can't call it an unregulated market because they do have a license out of I believe it's the Bahama Virgin Islands, a highly regulated world, which has traditionally been in traditional finance, and they're now tokenizing the traditional assets. And then this other world that we've all been playing with in crypto. So they're bringing them together in one place, and that is very unique. I'm very happy that I've been following along with Chintai for this long for that reason.
Oh, one other quick point I want to make is that an interesting area that I think has not been explored a lot, people have talked about it, but there's just been no mechanism to really do it effectively that's not obstructed by all sorts of legal proceedings and stuff. And that's insurance. A lot of people talked about disrupting the insurance industry and this and that, but really, like any enterprise where you need some form of insurance, you can theoretically now have fractionalized surety bonds. So if you have like a joint venture of some kind and you need to insure, you could theoretically tokenize the insurance bonds essentially that your company needs to operate in order to protect itself against loss. So you create like a whole separate market for your own enterprise theoretically and let that be owned and tradable. So if you're taking all the, and then you could have like third party auditors like looking at your operations to see that you're taking all the proper security measures or protecting, if you have physical assets that need protecting or servers or whatever it is, that you're taking all the necessary requirements, and that could factor into like the how risky you're seen as and how much like that market is influenced by it'd be like real like live price discovery of risk essentially, and tradable. So as a company becomes more problematic, people would be incentivized to, well, yeah, I mean, you can do the math. Just kind of wanted to throw that out there as like another weird idea that people have been talking about for a long time, and I don't think we've had the tools to play around with.
Huh. That's a cool idea. I'm not sure I can quite wrap my head around it because I'm not real familiar with the insurance industry, but I have a friend who works in the health insurance industry, so might want to pick her brain. That's cool, though. It's cool. Application of this sort of real world assets. Sounds like it's more theoretical than an actual thing that anyone's doing right now, but
well,
that's why we just gotta wait.
Say I had a precious asset and I wanted to, and it got better with it. Say I had like a wine collection and I wanted to tokenize shares in my wine collection, which is already happening, like with wine investment clubs and stuff like that. But say I wanted to put it on the blockchain, typically you'd have to insure your assets against fire and all the usual things, in the event that the underlying asset that all your tokenized bits is based on like gets destroyed, because there's no recourse, right? Everyone could sue you, but yeah, insure your wine against your children, for instance, like raiding the cellar. But yeah, so I mean, I don't know like legally how this necessarily plays out in whatever jurisdiction, but you could theoretically do the insurance bit yourself, right? Is what I'm saying, through a transparent ledger of this nature where you can say like, look, there's this many people betting that I'm protecting like the stash of wine valued at like $1 billion. There's $1 billion betting that it's going to be okay. And then there's, some people that are, shorting that or whatever, like, nah, for sure there's going to be fire. And maybe that opens up like the door to like weird game theory problems I haven't considered yet with like, but that probably already exists in the insurance industry. People are always trying to scam like insurance and stuff like that. So, but I can't help but think that it opens the door for more innovative solutions and like risk management, essentially, like tokenizing risk. So that's cool.
Yeah, that's one of those applications I haven't thought a lot about, but that's a great use case.
It definitely opens the door for you to bet your house in a poker game with absolutely no friction and lose it immediately.
Yeah, where's Stefan when you need him?
Yeah, that's why they've like developed this whole like accredited investor class, right? That's ostensibly to protect people from doing really stupid things with their money, but we're just gonna have to like figure out other ways to.
No, that's to protect the rich people from the poor people doing another Wall Street bets.
Zach, don't.
Yeah, playing the long game.
Yeah.
Well, that's a separate point, and I feel like that's a completely valid point. Just about regulation in general. But and I've got my own views on that. I'm not gonna dive into those right here. But I will say that even if you are a complete libertarian, a total purist, or along that spectrum, there has to be a place for some kind of rules-based system. The question is, who makes those rules? Are they government, or are they a voluntary group of people? So the idea that there are rules, I think, is fair, totally fair. The question is, who is going to make those rules? And in this case, and in Chintai's case, uh, it's they're choosing governments, and at the moment, it's the government of Singapore has given their license for the real world asset side. On the other side, as I mentioned, it's I believe it's the Bahamas Virgin Islands. They do have a license, or they don't have a license yet. They are approaching one. They're attempting one. But you don't need, and on that side, you won't need to log in to identify yourself. You won't need to KYC on that side. So we've got these two ideas coming together. So yeah, it's regulated. The regulated world is a whole question unto itself. And yet, you did, Brandon. You did mention a dystopian view of this. This isn't. I don't think this is the format for that. But yeah, you're absolutely right about that. There's a whole other view. However, making money is a whole different question.
I just really quickly wanted to touch on like the regulation side of things too, because it's really interesting. Like, you know, if we take the regulatory frameworks that exist generally at face value as mechanisms designed to protect people against doing foolish things, or protect them against like predatory behavior by others. Like where I live in Minnesota, for instance, I don't know how it is from state to state, but there is a way to not carry insurance, like auto insurance in Minnesota, if you have, I can't remember what it is. It's like you have to put like $500,000 in a bond or something like that. It's some like ridiculous amount of money. But the point is, you can self-insure essentially by putting up a bond that can be used in the event that you cause bodily harm or damage to property or whatever. So it's almost, and I suspect that systems like that exist other places too. It's just that they're usually only accessible to rich people. But I can foresee a scenario where if we can, again, create markets for risk and kind of change the way insurance works a little bit, there's already, you know, it's like the logic of regulation should yield to self-enforcing systems, like systems that are already protecting their users and via like really transparent mechanisms that basically produce the same result for probably a fraction of the amount of like overhead necessary to operate like traditional insurance or other oversight schemes. So yeah, it's kind of an interesting area where I don't think we're necessarily like regulate. Yeah, I don't want to like opine too much either, but you know, I don't think like that the impulse isn't bad. It's just like we're kind of entering an era where with blockchain and with other technology, we can perhaps like prove that we're taking like the same measures as government would require, and therefore it wouldn't be necessary in the same way. But this is kind of an uncharted territory.
That's
Yeah,
one of the unique aspects.
Blockchain is kind of it is already quite regulated just from the software side. So there's it's not quite as necessary. Well, this is a matter of opinion, but maybe is not quite as necessary to have external regulations on it if there are internal regulations. That's what that makes me think of.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
To speak to Brandon's point, just really quickly, to speak to Brandon's point of the regulation, on the Chintai platform, if you enter on the regulated side, you identify your KYC, you identify yourself, and it'll be based on your passport, of course, either as an investor, somebody looking that has tokens that want to invest those tokens, or as an issuer, you have an asset you'd like to tokenize. Either one, you enter under a set of rules based on your jurisdiction, and the system will not allow you to do anything that you cannot do. So you can't violate the law using their system. So that's an advantage. You don't have to, as far as the transactions goes and everything that happens on the platform, you don't have to hire an attorney for that aspect because you can't break the law. The system will not allow you to violate the law based on the jurisdiction of your passport. So that's an interesting comparative advantage that Chintai has over anything that I'm aware of.
Yeah, that's very cool. Yeah, Chintai's got quite a bit of work behind what they're releasing, and yeah, the excitement is palpable.
That sounds cool, but that means I have to give them my passport, right? Like, do they keep it, or how does that work?
No, go for it.
I don't think you give it to them. I think you just provide the information.
You just got to prove that you are who you say you are. Just usual KYC.
I mean, that's we're all saying the same thing. I mean, you say usual KYC like it's just something to be hand waved away, but then you see all these companies getting hacked, and then everyone's personal information is stolen. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Like in my vision of like the ideal crypto world, I get what they're saying. Like you have to prove you're a citizen in order to follow the laws. Like I really do respect and appreciate that aspect where they don't allow you to break your own laws. Like that's cool. But like my vision for the crypto world would be where you don't provide anything like that, which is increasingly a fairy tale. But
Zach, I totally agree with you. Absolutely, 100%. But I'm gonna make money. That's what I'm saying. No, this is something. This is something that is being. This is the direction of the most powerful forces on Earth, and I think it's an opportunity to leverage that energy. So I don't necessarily. I agree with you that it is not the direction that humanity should be going, but it appears that it's going to happen. So I think that should be taken into consideration. Just like you would a wave, you're not going to stop the ocean. You're not going to stop the waves, but you might be able to ride a few.
I mean, there are always like two or more currents, like in any sort of like societal sort of collision like this with blockchain. Like many people have taken the more like underground, we're going to just do our own parallel economy scenario, and then other people have taken a more like how do we interface with the existing system. And I don't think those two sides, and like Chintai is kind of demonstrating this with their two sides of what they're doing. Although, like Perry pointed out, the one side is regulated in the Bahamas, or will be, but it's kind of like the recognition that you can't necessarily. Well, you certainly can't do business and escape like the rules, not for long, unless you can change the rules. You're always going to be in that, and I respect people that kind of take both paths. Really, like there's a pressure that can be applied on the direction of like the evolution of like human modes of interaction, like via both directions, right? Like one is cooperating with existing structures and kind of take the reform approach of like talk some sense into them, be like, look, this is a good thing for efficiency, for for transparency.
Kind of how it shakes out. Only time will tell. Well,
I think there's like, I was just gonna say, I think there is a happy middle ground. Like, instead of having to give a scan of my driver's license or passport to Coinbase and Binance and Bittrex and Voice and whoever else we'll throw back there, although we never did that for Voice. But instead of having to give like my documents to all those people, I would love to see something where, like a paradigm where I go to, could be government, could be private, but I go to one entity and they verify my identity, and then they give me like a proof or a token, but ideally like a zero knowledge proof, and then I can provide that proof to anyone to prove things like, yes, I'm a U.S. citizen, yes, I'm over 21, yes, I'm over 18, yes, I live in Virginia, like whatever that is, and not have to actually reveal any information about myself, which is completely different than the Chintai discussion at this point. I was just curious what guarantees there are that like my passport won't be stolen. But I'd love to see that kind of a paradigm where like the people doing the KYC are completely independent of the people offering the services.
Yeah, shout out to Port, by the way, which is able to verify your passport without accessing any personal information.
Or verify that you at least have a passport.
Yes, a unique passport.
To your point, Zach, I think that's a totally viable solution. It just hasn't been proven out yet. I mean, we know that it's technically possible, but we're also at the bleeding edge of zero knowledge proof, stuff. And it's not exactly like a widely available, but I guarantee you, I almost guarantee you that large corporations would rather do that to the extent that they're able to, so that they're not liable for like holding customer information that could get hacked. Like that's probably a huge cost saving to them. Now they might miss out on some information that they could mine, like data they could mine, but people give that away for free all the time in other places anyway. So I would think personally that there'd be like an advantage to companies not knowing, just knowing that you are who you say you are, but not knowing anything else, because that's a huge liability for them.
They already do that. That's already how it works. It's just not on-chain or decentralized. Like, I worked at an exchange, and I can't say which one until August 28th next year. But I worked at an exchange, and that's exactly what they did. They farmed out all the KYC to someone else. So, like, the exchange operator had no idea. I mean, they knew your name and all that, because you put all that in. But they didn't get your passport scans or your driver's license scans or whatever they collected. I don't know what they collected, because that wasn't my job. But it went through their website, so in that sense they got it. But really, they passed all that along to a third party. The third party did the KYC, AML, and then the third party was the one who would have your passport scans in a completely unsecured S3 bucket. And I'm not saying that was the case with this exchange, but hypothetically, the third party would be the one who would be responsible if your passport scans were in some unsecured S3 bucket that a security researcher found. And the business had nothing to do with it. So that's already how it works. The only difference is that, I really want it to be on-chain and decentralized. So that if I got KYC'd with Coinbase, for example, which was not the exchange, but if I got KYC'd with Coinbase, then I could take that KYC and go to anyone else. And as long as they trust that provider, in an ideal world, the provider would be the state of Virginia or the government. But as long as they trust the private provider, then they accept it. And I don't think anyone really disagrees at this point. I'm just like rambling, but that's kind of already how it works. It's just not on chain.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, this has been a very, very. I'm trying to think of the right word. Well, it's been a great conversation, but at this point, I think there's probably some Pomelo grant owners who have been patiently waiting So I think we can move on to our next topic. Just real quick, yes, you should look into Port. It basically does exactly what you're talking about. But yeah, so we can move on here. Thanks everyone for the invigorating conversation, and specifically thank you, Perry. I invited a few people from Chintai on to see if they could bring some additional light to this, and while they were unavailable, understandably, it's 3 a.m. in Singapore. Fortunately, you were here to bring a lot more clarity to that, so thank you.
Well, Brandon is in the same Telegram group, so thanks to Brandon as well.
Yes, indeed. Thank you, Brandon, as well. All right. So moving on to the Pomelo Rapid Fire Pitch Sessions. So Pomelo is now officially in its last week of donations for the season. The application period closes in under 10 hours. There's still a chance to get your grant applications in. However, submissions close on October 12th at 12 p.m. UTC. So resubmissions will probably not be on the table. So make sure your application, if you're putting it in, is comprehensive and complete. So it should outline the specific, non-excludable, meaning free and available to all, non-rivalrous, meaning consumption by one person does not prevent another person from consuming the good. So outline the public good of your grant, and make sure to provide somewhere the community can keep up with your work, like a GitHub repo or a website. This season, we've got more than 100 approved grants, which have collectively raised more than 15,000 EOS in direct donations. These donations go into the quadratic funding formula and will determine each project's share of the $150,000 matching pool. The last round of full Pomelo pitch sessions will take place this week. Tomorrow is the last Korean language pitch session on Twitter Spaces at 12 UTC. And then Friday will be the final pitch session in English, also on Twitter Spaces at 1600 UTC. That kind of mangled that word, 1600 UTC. As well as the Chinese pitch session at 1200 UTC. And that's on Tencent or VOOV meeting, if that's VOOV. For those who are not in China. Today, we will be hearing from the grant owners of many of these projects in our rapid fire pitch session. There's no sign-up required. If you're here and your grant has been approved, you are invited to pitch your project. Yeah, sorry. A little distraction there. If you'd like to join, write your name and the name of your Pomelo grant in the chat. If I give a thumbs up on your comment, it means I've seen it and you've reserved your spot in line. Feel free to enter that in the chat now. Each pitch will be only 30 seconds, hence the name Rapid Fire. Make sure to put a link to your grant in the chat to give everyone a chance to check out your grant and donate. And write down any questions you have, and we can have a proper Q&A session after the pitches. But we'll save the questions for later. I will be keeping track of time. When you have 5 seconds left, I will trigger the countdown clock sound effect. So you know time's almost up. And then that'll be signal that your presentation time is over. So I see some in the chat already. We've got first, I need to communicate that I have seen this one. Thumbs up, there we go. First up on the list, we've got Dario from EOS Audit. Dario, are you there? Is your microphone working?
Yes.
Nice. Yep, loud and clear. All right, let me set up this timer real quick, and let me know when you're ready.
Ready?
All right, go right ahead.
Hello, EOS Fireside. EOS Audit here, your beacon of transparency in the EOS ecosystem. Our aim is to ensure projects' integrity and progress on the EOS blockchain. Rigorous audits, innovative frameworks, and community-driven spirit are reshaping EOS. Whether you're a developer, enthusiast, or a stakeholder, your support matters. Nominate projects for audit or join us at contact@eosaudit.io. Thank you.
Nice. That was exactly 30 seconds. Great job, Dario. Thank you. All right. Up next on our list, we've got Bishops. Bishop will be presenting about EOS support and EOS synergy. So those are two separate grants, right? Hopefully Bishop is able to speak.
Hey, Andrew. Yes, two
Yeah,
grants for
there we
me.
go. Okay, cool. So we'll do 30 seconds for the first and then 30 seconds for the second one.
Perfect.
All right, let me just reset my timer here. And you can start whenever you're ready.
All right. So EOS Support is a multilingual customer support service. And for 2 years now, we have served as the trusted concierge of the EOS network and its EVM users. We have provided the community and its businesses with 24/7 assistance in 9 different languages. And to onboard new users, we delivered guides and the app overviews for both EOS and its EVM, and keep the users safe with scam prevention. Still, we continue to actively engage with the existing EOS community through our ambassadors program, EOS Respect. So thank you for your unwavering support.
Great, that was perfect.
That was nice.
And that was 30 seconds. So, and that was for EOS support. Shout out EOS support. I've been supporting EOS support for quite a while now. They do great work in the community. And Bishop, if you'd like to share your other project, have at it. Actually, I need to reset. Oh, I did already reset my clock. Okay. Whenever you're ready.
Thank you for your support, Andrew. And next is EOS Synergy, yes. So EOS Synergy gathers influencers, hosts live shows and events to promote EOS and its content worldwide. So we provide a valuable source of education and guidance for users entering our ecosystem. For our 6 event hosts, it acts as a collaboration hub. So we help each other create promotional content and exchange ideas on how to better market our shows. Of course, participants are awarded EOS community NFTs, adding the much needed fun to the events. So that's it for your support and EOS Synergy. Thank you, Andrew.
Nice. Thank you. That was very brief and very well explained too. Great job.
Thanks.
Awesome. Let's see what else we got here. I did notice that Lenny shared his grant. If you'd like, Lenny, you can feel free to speak. I realize you said earlier you were not going to be speaking, so you didn't need to test your microphone, but just wanted to invite you on. Oh, but I see we've got someone who has officially put their name in, Eugenie, for Like EOS, Russian-speaking EOS community. You're welcome to hop up on stage if you'd like to just check and make sure your microphone's working.
Yes, hello.
Hey,
I'm ready.
awesome. Give me a second here. Okay, so I am ready for you whenever you're ready. And whenever you're ready, you can just get started and I'll start the timer.
Okay, good evening. For years, we have been spreading information about EOS in the Russian-speaking community, in the Russian-speaking internet community. I mean, we translated news, user manuals, articles, reports about EOS. We participating in various online and offline meetings where we spread information about EOS, fight against FUD, and help newbies to understand the EOS blockchain. We have created a website and other social media channels, and we want to continue support EOS in Russian language. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Eugenie. That's great.
Thank you.
And I was a couple seconds over, but who's counting? I am technically, but it's fine by me. I could have cut you off if I wanted to, but I wanted to finish listening to what you had to say. Good stuff. Shout out to everyone with a Pomelo grant who shared today. I will be adding all of the Pomelo grants shared today to a collection along with the other fireside chats. And it looks like Lenny feels like he's done enough by pitching in chat. That's great. I will say you've been doing good work for a long time now, probably years at this point. So thank you, Lenny, for all your hard work. Much appreciated. And yeah, shout out Pomelo, which I would do. I'm kind of shouting myself out, but yeah, whatever. It's good times. All right. Now I'll open up the floor in case anybody didn't want to write their name in the chat, but does want to share, or if you've got some questions for any of our Pomelo grants. All right. I think with that we can move on. So real quick, this is a small topic, but I just wanted to share. This is a great video if you get the chance to watch. I wasn't watching, I was more listening yesterday, but it's a great interview with Eve regarding the future of EOS, but unsurprisingly also correcting some some incorrect information about the past of EOS, about the history of EOS. This is, it's not a huge channel, but it is definitely a great interview, so shout out. Actually, it looks like City Mills would like to present. Are you there? I didn't want to cut you off from the rapid fire fireside chat pitch session. So if you are still in the chat and you're able to open up your microphone, feel free.
Yeah, good evening from my time zone, guys. Am I coming in clear?
Yeah, you're coming in clear. Let me just reset this, and then you've got 2 grants, you said?
Yes. First
Great.
one is CD Racers. The second one is EOS Memes.
Great. So I will, I'm all prepped over here, so whenever you're ready, you can start talking, and I'll have 30 seconds for the first one, and then we'll do it again for the second grant. So whenever you're ready.
And I'm good to go. All right. CD Racers game is a mobile arcade game, and whose aims and objective is to enable users race their way to the top and earn NFT rewards. So on the game, players will be able to buy accessories, cars and accessories using the EOS EVM token. Okay,
All right.
yes,
Excellent.
yeah.
That was 30 seconds right there. So now you're going to have another 30 seconds. If you have other stuff you wanted to say about City Racers, go for it. Or you can talk about EOS Memes was your other grant, right?
Yes.
All right. Good stuff.
All right. I'm basically done EOS Racers. Okay. So EOS Memes is a project I came up with some months ago, and our aim is to promote the EOS blockchain on social media through the use of memes. And these memes will be shared across it will be shared on Twitter and also across social media. So I think this will help to boost, create awareness concerning EOS blockchain.
Excellent. Yeah, great job keeping under the 30 seconds for both of those. I feel like I'm have a good understanding of both of those, and they will be added to the collection.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. All right. So we'll move on to our next topic now. make sure to check out that video. Give some likes and comments if you got anything to say. If there's people spreading FUD and you need to correct them, have at it. But moving on, our next topic is the block producer meeting for September. So this is an event that happens every single month. The top 30 block producers meet up with the ENF in order to sort of discuss various kind of news and initiatives and stuff like that. Among the stuff that was covered in the September BP meeting was updates to Leap 5. A lot of this stuff is stuff that we've shared already, but this is just sort of a little bit of background. Some updates to Leap 5 and what the scope is for that. They also discussed that the EOS network is now carbon negative or climate positive, whichever way you'd like to look at it. But the EOS network now offsets more carbon than it consumes, which is honestly not the reason it's impressive is because the EOS network uses so little power. It's not a crazy amount of money, and that's one of the benefits of having such an efficient blockchain is that we're able to offset the entire carbon footprint without it being completely ridiculous to do. Like if you're trying to offset the carbon footprint of Bitcoin, it would be significant. It would be a lot of Bitcoin would be going to offsetting that, but we're in a much better position here. Also shared some updates about EOS Labs. EOS Labs has recently communicated with a total of over 100 projects, of which 22 of them are investment related. 4 of these investments are in the process of onboarding, but the ENV will disclose the final investment results at the appropriate time. In addition, the EOS EVM mainnet bridge will soon support USDT and other native assets. In addition, third-party decentralized bridges will also begin connecting EOS and other public chains, so I'm excited to see that. EOS Labs is also cooperating with licensed and compliant institutions, such as centralized exchanges, to issue Bitcoin, stablecoins, and other assets on EOS. Labs may also introduce real-world assets in the future, which we've spent some time chatting about today. And then EOS Labs is also contacting more game developers and platforms with a focus on social games. At the same time, EOS Labs is also exploring the Telegram or a Telegram mini app so that users can play games or otherwise use Web3 applications without even leaving Telegram. I'm excited to see that. Shout out to EOS Labs. And if you'd like to read more about that BP meeting, you can check out this article on the ENF's website, and you can learn more information. All right. Moving on to our next topic here, which is Upscale or Eden, but it's called Upscale now, as well as EOS Respect. Both have done their elections in the past week and a half or so. So shout out to Upscale. Also apologies to Upscale. I meant to join, but then I went and checked and I had forgotten to register more than 24 hours before. So I was unable to join, which honestly, it meant I didn't wake up at 5 a.m. to participate, which is a little bit disappointing. But to be honest, I didn't mind sleeping in on a Saturday morning. But shout out to the new Upscale delegates. We've got a loaded list this time. In the past, we've had 2 or 3 delegates. This time we have 11 delegates. So shout out to Sashit, Veronica, Gabriel, Andres, Perry, Melvin, Mo, Patrick, Tran, Vlad, and Head Chief Jong. So shout out to all of those Upscale members. I'm curious, do you have any chief delegates in the house that would like to share their insights or answer questions or anything? I know we have it's a pretty packed chief delegate list, so feel free to hop in.
I'll just say it's going to be an interesting term because a good amount of us did not expect to be chief delegates because of a little bit of an unusual situation. Apparently, according to the code, the smart contract that was programmed, if there was a certain amount of individuals attending the election, then everybody that won at the first level, in the first round, normally going to level 1 delegate, became chief delegates. So there was just one round, and all of us became chief delegates. So it's a little bit unusual. We didn't expect that, and that includes myself. I was not expecting to be a chief delegate. I was only intending to go to one level, but there you have it. So we've got 11 of us, and yeah, it'll be an unusual term for that reason.
Yeah, I'm curious. So during its time as Eden, there were terms with only 2 or 3 delegates. Now there's 11 delegates. I'm curious, what effect do you think this will have on meetings and other collaborative activities?
Well, that's a very good question. In the last 2 terms, there's been a great reduction in the turnout as well as the participation in the meetings. And I know that because I was in most of the meetings. So how is that going to affect this term and the actual work group meetings? I don't know. It doesn't seem like it's changed much in the very few that we've had so far this week, but we'll see. Yeah, it's a big experiment that we're part of, and we're all learning. So that's where it's going. It's just a big learning experience. I'm translating my learning experience into tools. That's what I'm doing. I'm taking this experience and I'm trying to figure out what are the pain points, what's needed, and I'm trying to manifest that in my dnews.zone offerings, which I believe you'll all see fairly soon. I'll be able to release those. But it's all very exciting for me, and I hope that you guys share that when I do announce them in the future. Thanks.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's interesting for sure. I remember reading in the original white paper, I think, how it outlined that basically you needed a minimum of 12 people in order to get a round going. And so that meant that there was a theoretical maximum of 11 people who could potentially be in a room together. And that was assumed to be an extreme edge case, but hey, here we are. So it's definitely going to be interesting to see. It's a different social dynamic when you have 3 people versus 12 people in a room. So, yeah. In addition to the Upscale elections, there was also EOS Support has their own sort of elections in that style, which are the EOS Respect elections. And they held their election last week, actually on Tuesday. And we've got some new chief delegates in EOS Respect. We've got Dario, who is in the chat right here and actually just posted a great article here. This, I think, is the same article that I was going to share. So that's perfect. 548. Yep, that's the same one. So yeah, we've got new chief delegates Dario, we got Wilfred, we got Yuan, and the new head chief Haza are taking the reins of EOS Respect. And as Dario mentioned, EOS Respect publishes a monthly report on the progress of the projects they fund. And most projects have been delivering on their goals. So you can see the details. Oh, I was just about to copy paste, forgot that Dario already posted those. So the article that Dario posted right there is a great one to follow if you're interested in learning more. Very impressive work from both EOS Respect as an organization as well as the auditing process. So shout out. Dario, you're welcome to hop up and talk about the EOS Respect election if you like.
Yeah, I can say a few words. When you click on that link, in the first chart, you can track delegate promises and whether they've been upheld. And then also is like Excel export attached or linked, which provides a comprehensive breakdown. Then we have second charts, displays the numbers of donations made by delegates to the projects. There also is an Excel export, which reveals all the nitty-gritty details. And then we also have like an overview, like a chart, showcase the delegate performance, including how effectively they track donations and maintain communication with supported projects. Yeah, and then you also can see like how many of the affiliated projects or partner projects actually received some funds. And then we also have some statistics, just like the top categories, how many EOS and USD were donated per category. We took the categories from Pomelo. And also the top 15 projects which received the most funds, and also a statistic from how many donation the projects delivered on their promise. Yeah, that's about it.
That's cool. I'm curious, what is the process for determining the success level of a given initiative?
The delegates, they have the duty after before they donate, they should reach out to the project and make sure, that how they want to spend the funds or what they plan. And then after the donation, this mostly 1 month later, they're gonna reach out and then they're gonna demand a report. It's very simple at the moment because you can see it's not a lot of funding right now. And then they just report, what they've done with that funds, and then the delegates write that down, and then we have like a check and balance in place from EOS support project managers, which then just control these entries, and if something is not enough, like try to work with the delegates together that they can. Ask for or write it better so it can be understood. And also if there is a project which is not delivering like the information they need, then the process would be like that we delist that project and it would drop out from EOS Respect and no longer receive any funding.
That seems like a good process. Seems like there's multiple eyes looking at it, which I think is a really important thing. That's very cool.
It for sure can also be improved if there ever would be like more funding. Yeah, there can be or more quality could be added, let's say, in all the check and balances or reports or whatever.
Yeah, well, let's hope that is the biggest issue that we have to deal with. Too much funding. Awesome. Well, thank you, Dario. I appreciate you answering my questions and giving a little bit more context to that.
For the opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. I think we move on to the next topic here. Just got a couple more topics. This one's pretty quick. Just wanted to let everyone know, in case haven't been keeping up with Neutroswap. But Neutroswap is an automated market maker and a launch pad running on the EOS EVM. It was one of the first projects to utilize the EOS EVM, and it has achieved an impressive collection of milestones, among which the smart contract is audited and it is live on EOS EVM. You can go check it out at app.neutroswap.io. That's this link I just posted here. They launched the Neutroswap farm. They burned 98% of the Neutro token supply, which is that's a big number. That's almost 100. They also launched the Neutro Vault. They reached $1.5 million in peak TVL. And they were also listed on DeFi Llama, CoinGecko, CoinMarketCap, and DBank. In addition to their partnership with EVM NS Space. So that's the EVM name service. So shout out there. Sorry, that was a little loud. Kind of surprised me, and I actually hit it. So apologize for that. Anything on Neutroswap? Anyone want to share their experiences? All right. We're going to move on to our last topic here, which is probably going to be a review for a lot of people, but this last topic is the EOS Monthly Report. Here at the Fireside Chat, we try and keep you updated on the most recent happenings in the EOS world. If you've been out of the loop this past month, though, like I was for the month of August, and you enjoy using your eyes to read words, you can get a summary of the most important developments in September's EOS Monthly Report. So topics include some EOS EVM announcements, including the EOS EVM roadmap unveiling, the EOS EVM being released as code complete, and that's version 0.6. We've got Plays app coming to the EOS EVM, and a trustless USDT bridge with EOS EVM version 0.6.0. So shout out to that. Very excited to see that. We've also got in the monthly report 1 year of EOS independence. That also happened this past September, as well as the EOS Network's vision for an interoperable future. We've got sustainability beyond carbon neutral to climate positive. Pomelo Season 7, which is still underway, but started back in September. We got a September programs and operations health report. And we got some online events, including getting started with Wharf, which I am still excited to watch. We got a GameFi panel, and then an AMA with the aforementioned EVMNS, the EVM name service. So shout out to them. We've also got EVE in Asia for Korea Blockchain Week, as well as Token 49. We've got some tutorials from the ENF DevRel team as developer relations, including building a Tamagotchi app, which I still haven't done, as well as building a To-Don't app, which I also have not done. But I am actually probably going to build the Tamagotchi dApp when I have an opportunity, when I'm not preparing for a fireside chat, for example. And also, one thing I'd like to mention in honor of Patrick is the Antelope Swiss workshops, which are highlighted in that monthly report. So if any of that sounds interesting to you, you can read more at, no, I'm not going to say, it's a long link, eosnetwork.com/blog/ okay, you can read it. But yeah, shout out to the monthly report. So that'll do it for our topics today. At this point, I'll open it up. If you have some thoughts about the monthly report, do this, and then we'll probably wrap up. I'm always tempted to do these DJ moves. All right. Well, thank you everyone for joining today. This has been a great fireside chat, invigorating conversation, and I feel like I learned a lot. So until next week, where I will again be hosting, but that will be my last time hosting for the in the short term here. We will finally have Stefan back to bring your regularly scheduled fireside hype. And with that, I think we can sign off. So if you guys want to join me for a quick go EOS, that's 3, 2, 1, go EOS!
Go EOS!
Go EOS!
And our dance music. Thanks everyone for joining. I'll see you next week.